Got to work a couple days and saw that my prime parking spot, right next to the employee entrance, was open. Put on my turn signal and turned into the lane, right next to the spot. The lady in the car next to the spot was loading her trunk with groceries, so I was being careful. Just as I about to start into the spot, two people walked down the lane between her car and mine and I stayed stopped to let them pass safely. The lady was done loading her trunk about the same time. She closes the trunk and looks right at me, making eye contact. She wheels her cart into my space, keeping eye contact the whole time. She puts the cart up again parking pillar, parked long ways, so there is no way to fit my car into the space with the cart there. She kept eye contact with me until she sat in her car. Game on. I stopped my car and got out. I walked to the cart and turned to make eye contact with her. I then pushed the cart directly behind her car, keeping eye contact as long as I could. I then walked past her door, making her shut it as she was trying to get out to move the cart. I sat in my car and pulled forward and parked. I gathered my work gear and got out. I expected the cart to be behind my car, but I looked up and saw her walking back from the cart corral. She was no longer making eye contact. I thought about making a sarcastic comment, but decided that since she did put the cart away, I should let it go. She was a jerk, and I was a jerk right back. It was a tie, almost. I did get a little petty revenge out of it. Sacramento, California. Sacramento County authorities said Friday they have made an arrest in a 1980 murder case. Robin Brooks, 20, was found murdered in her Rancho Cordova area apartment 40 years ago. The killer's DNA was found on Brooks, investigators previously said. In a news conference, the sheriff's office announced the arrest of Philip Wilson in connection with the rape and murder of Brooks. On April 24, 1980, the sheriff's office said Brooks had left her regular shifts at donut time shortly after midnight. She was expected to meet up with friends for a swim date, but never showed up, officials said. After not being able to contact Brooks for some time, her friends forced their way into her apartment, where they found Brooks dead in her bedroom, officials said. She had been sexually assaulted and stabbed multiple times, the sheriff's office said. Using the same forensic DNA evidence initially used in the Golden State Killer cases, investigative genetic genealogy, Wilson was arrested in his North Sacramento home on Thursday. This new Thule, as I've said before, is the perfect marriage between science and dedicated police work, said Sacramento County District Attorney Anne Marie Schubert. With these two working together, science and really extraordinary police work, in this case, Philip Wilson now stands charged in a felony complaint in Sacramento County with the rape-murder of Robin Brooks, Schubert said. I'm so glad this boss is alive and will face justice. My youngest has become obsessed with Minecraft. We started off with me buying/downloading/installing the game. Then he needed my help modifying something, then my help again explaining what mods are, then my help again finding and installing mods, etc. 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 Now at least a few times a day he wants to show me something he made or ask for my help when something goes wrong. I have assumed the role of Minecraft tech support for our household. Over time he needed me less and less and now only needs my help downloading things or moving around files on the hard drive. I've forbidden him from doing that himself, malware, accidentally deleting system files, etc. A few weeks ago he called me over to show me a mob he made. I watched him for a while then waddled to the kitchen and had this conversation with my wife. Our son is becoming an expert at Minecraft. Right now he is making a new thing called a mob. Wife, oh that's nice. Isn't it though? He's still working on it. He wants me to watch when he plays it for the first time. 5 minutes pass. You should see what he's doing. He's changing all kinds of specifications regarding timers and perimeter settings and behaviors and such. This is complex for a 7-year-old. He's almost done. Wife, alright. I'll come over as soon as I'm done making this roast. 5 minutes pass. He tried to release it and something went wrong. Right now he is troubleshooting it. Shooting it. 30 seconds later. And he's not doing it in the GUI, but in the command line interface. Wife, oh okay. I'm almost done with the roast. 5 minutes pass. He's finished. And he released it into the world. It works. It's amazing. Wife, I'm glad he got it to work. You seem very happy. I am. Our son has made fire. Fire that moves around and tries to kill you. He is a genius. So I worked in a psych hospital and my nurse manager's office was directly outside of the unit I worked. She was an absolute terror. She would come in all hours of the night and peek into windows trying to catch staff doing things incorrectly. She talked down to people and showed no respect to anyone under her management. She hated fish. The break room was on the other side of her office and she would always be super dramatic, airing out her office and coughing loudly. One night my co-worker and I decided we had enough of her shoot. We got cans of tuna and used feeding tube syringes to suck out the juice from a few cans and went outside. I climbed on her shoulders and injected it into the air conditioner in her office. She came in the next day and was inquiring who had made fish. She put up signs asking people to use another break room if they had fish for lunch, smiley face. So freshman year of high school I was in the most hated teacher's math class, and because I was in the gifted program, there was a lot of malicious compliance, but my favorite example is 2 weeks before the midterm final, one of those kids, you know, the kind that doesn't care and always bullies their teachers but never gets in trouble, who also happened to be this teacher's least favorite student, was on his phone instead of working, as per usual. And this teacher was in an especially bad mood today, so she started yelling at this kid, calling him dumb, useless, stupid, etc., where the kid didn't care at all. She got fed up yelling at him, so she said, "You know what? If you get a 100 on the final you can keep playing on your phone." Finals came around and not only did the kid get a 100 on the final, but so did 3/4 of our class, meaning we outperformed all of the other classes. The rest of the year consisted of everyone in the class playing on our phones. Edit: it was actually our midterm, we just called both our finals Smile. So when I, M, was 16, my best friend, also 16 M, got me back in the best way for a prank I pulled on him. I don't remember what it was, but it's not really relevant. Back then, before the interwebs, most things were done via snail mail. So he found in one of his little sister's magazines a mail and insert application for Miss Teen USA. Yeah, you see where this is going. He feminized my first name and sent in the application with my address. Sure enough, I got a package in the mail with all the details and pics they need to enter me. The funniest part was he said I was 13 years old. So I stayed on the list for 6 years and got that package every one of those years. He got me good and it still makes me smile when I think about it. A guest came in from the other side of the state specifically to get a kit for their kid. It was a bad kit, and wasn't even popular when we had it in. Them: so you don't have it? Me: nope, we stopped making that product over 3 years ago. Them: are you sure? Me: yep. Them: you had it in last month. Me: nope, I do almost every shipment in this store, and I can guarantee we didn't have it then. Them: okay, you had it last year? Me: I have been doing nearly every shipment for the last 3 years, and I haven't seen this item a single time. Them: can you please check the back? Me: we don't have it, but I'll check just in case. Goes to the back, takes a 30 seconds break, comes back out. No, we don't have it and we'll never get it back in. It is a retired product. We don't make it, we never will. You can try Amazon or eBay or second-hand retailers, but our company will never make it or carry it again. Them: okay, it's 140 on Amazon, don't you have it for 90? Me: I'm afraid we don't. Sure, it was 90 when we had it, but that was in 2016. We are currently in the year 2020. Them: you ruined my son's birthday. Me: oh, I'm sorry, he was looking in our catalogs from such a long time ago. Here's a current one, you are welcome to look for an alternate. I show them the only set that is the same kind of build that we currently make. Them: the only similar product you have is made for children who are 5 years old. My son is 11. Me: I don't make or design the product, I only sell it. I'm sorry you didn't find what you are looking for. If he really wants it you can get it for 140 online. For an older kit, that's not a terrible price change, and it looks like it was the only one left. Better hurry or it will be gone. Them: my last assignment before I retired was as a platoon sergeant for an air ambulance platoon. We had just moved to a forward operating base run by the Swedes. Fob Monitor was a postage stamp-sized outpost manned by an infantry company and my newly arrived medevac platoon. The locals were only separated from us by a dirt and there were houses along that road. Everything was cool at our new home away from home. We had been there around 48 hours and were still in the process of setting up our footprint. The TOC was operational and we were ready to receive missions. All we needed was wood to complete the TOC and to build our MWR facility. The brigade commander didn't want to give us our Cheetah satellite system used for commercial internet until we had a complete MWR facility to put it in. They probably expected us to take a few weeks to get completely set up since they really didn't want to give us that system. All we needed to finish was wood. This is where the Chinooks come in. Chinooks aren't bothersome unless they are executing aerial braking over your neighborhood. Everyone's stuff is gone when that happens. We are sitting fat and happy when a couple of Chinooks were on final to my helicopter landing zone. I have the radio operator tell them to circle around the city and approach from the north. Do they do it? Nope. We're all standing outside looking north trying to locate the birds. I have the Swedish leadership there since they were supplying lift support with their newish forklift. One of my medics tells everyone to turn around and we do. The Chinooks were approaching over the city. We got to watch as our neighbors' possessions and satellite dishes scattered to the four winds. Half a mile of the locals' dwellings looked like a mini tornado hit them. Then they flew over my command post tent and the rec tent. Thank God we had everything staked down. I just knew we were going to get mortared, rocketed, or have a grenade or two tossed over the wall. The neighbors' two-story homes were tall enough for them to look over the walls into our compound. Luckily for us the neighbors were cool. Must have been due to all the hashish they smoked on a daily basis. Since that day Chinooks equals bad. Of course it's been too quiet. Of course I had hubris enough to think it was just another night. And of course it had to be the long-term guest looking to move the most. The shift started like all the others, in with my mask, a couple of arrivals and a few walk-ins looking for a room because they were out too long on the road. A short domestic dispute outside, a call from a nearby hotel about possible burglars on their property, but otherwise folks are being quiet. Around on it gets weird. A guy who ordered Uber Eats asks if the driver came by, who it turns out the ID come by but delivered it to a different room, that was listed on the order. There was a second order that was eventually just left here and I've tried reaching the guest but nothing. Then the big thing. Our long-term guest tells me water is coming from the vent in the ceiling. I tell him fine, I can move you while I put his former room out of service, asks about moving to a room with extras, told him none are available right now. Security goes to check the guy's room out, yup definitely flooding. We go to look in the room above see if it's coming from there. Half the floor is flooded with the wooden floor in the bathroom holding an inch or more of water. The leak it turns out is coming from the hose connected to the toilet from the wall. We turn the pressure down/off, still running. Turns out the seal to the hose connecting to the toilet broke. Best I could manage to do while calling the GM was getting the hose pointed into the tub with the toilet lid over the top to keep the flow in the tub. But then new problem. Apparently the room I moved the guest to also has leaks in the bathroom from that same room. So here I sit after probably the weirdest hour in my 2 years working here, even weirder than the day I had to go into a guest room and take out a used vibrator hidden under a guest bed. And still 3 hours left in my shift. I've had some interesting hotel experiences, this gem will always take the cake. I stride into the lobby like normal. The night auditor is putting the stool away ready to leave when the next shift comes in. Walk into the office and there sits the police report and a statement from the night before. Buckle up. At approximately 2 in the morning, Tom fell from the ceiling of room 1234, and landed in the room with Bert. Here's some information to help you sort that statement out. Bert is the registered occupant of room 1234. Bert doesn't know Tom. Bert doesn't know Katie. Tom is not a registered occupant of any room. Tom doesn't know Bert. Tom has a friend Katie who he apparently is staying with who is a registered guest. However, Katie is registered to a different room. It is important to know that Katie also does not know Bert. So, what we have is one man, falling from the ceiling of a room he doesn't belong in, and landing next to another man, at 2 in the morning. Complete strangers. I'll clear up the why real fast, since that's always a question. The why is most likely because Tom was gonna steal from Bert. The how instantly has my attention. Turns out Tom had purchased some power tools at a hardware store. Had used them to access a ceiling panel in his room because that's a thing people do in hotels. And Tom, well, he's an adventurous guy as you may have guessed, he can't just drop into the room next door, or close by. Tom made an Olympic event out of crawling through an air duct. I can only imagine the sheer joy Tom experienced when he arrived at his destination after such a moronic yet monumental feat. Then the sudden and sheer terror as the vent collapsed and Tom, his power tools lagging behind, plummeted to the floor below. It took a while to work through this with the big auditor. It was tougher than you'd imagine to accept this as something that unfolded in real life. Give it some time, let it soak in. In strolls the boss. I usually don't bother him with much. Complaints are normal. Constant. No reason to bug him with normal nonsense. This is different. Good morning, Mr. Lumberg. I think you should take a look at this police report. Stone cold, just tell me. I don't read things. Last night I had the pleasure of talking with the real peach, guys. So I live in a sparsely populated, big touristy state, and naturally we get a lot of people coming up to see all the nature and whatnot. Anyway, I get a call around 10 p.m. from a woman who tells me that she and her husband are from Indiana and they've been turned away from every other hotel still operating in the city as, like most everyone else in the country, they are only renting to essential personnel. Mine is no different, and I tell her this. Predictably, she hits me with, "So you're gonna make us spend a night in our car? What do you expect me to do, huh? What do you suggest I do?" Golly, I don't know, lady. Maybe not go friggin' sightseeing in the middle of a pandemic? Maybe? Goddern. The struggle is real when it comes to me increasingly wanting to scream right back at these people, I swear. My husband, 26, and I, 26, are currently living with his parents while my husband is in school for a 6-month course. Living with his parents is challenging, but it is their house and we need to respect it. And I'm perfectly fine with that. Also, my father-in-law is out of town occasionally because of jobs and my mother-in-law's health isn't the greatest. So we do our best to make sure Mill and the house is taken care of. However, my brother-in-law, 28, still lives at home and literally does nothing to help around the house. Since we have moved in, November 2019. It is now April 2020, I have seen him do dishes twice. One of which because I guilted him into it because my husband wanted help studying for his midterm. He has cooked 3 times, 2 of which was because his girlfriend was coming over. He used to have his mom do his laundry but then started doing it himself because his clothes were going missing. Last night set me off. My husband cooked dinner with my Phil out of town. The past 4 nights it was me. My Mill was getting out fixings for the chili my husband made. She called for my bill and asked if he could grate some cheese. Dude huffed like a 13-year-old and did not respond. I waited to see if he was finishing up something on his phone but did not move. Frustrated, I stood up and said I got it. When I went into the kitchen and started grating, my Mill said, "Oh, I was going to try to do it since he didn't answer me." Why can't he pull his weight? He doesn't parent. He doesn't cook. He doesn't clean. He sits in his room and plays video games. I don't understand it. The kidnapping of 2-year-old Mary Agnes Maroney made headlines across America in 1930. In 1930, Mary's parents were desperate for help. They were pregnant with their second child and in need of help. They placed an ad in the social worker column. They thought their prayers were answered when Julia arrived and helped them out with food and needed items. The woman claimed her name was Julia Otis and was sent by a Mrs. Henderson to help. On May 15, 1930, Julia Otis came back to their home in Chicago, Illinois. The parents of course welcomed the woman into their home. When Julia stated she wanted to buy a new dress for 2-year-old, they allowed her to take Mary to what they thought was just to the corner store. The couple began to worry that the two didn't come back, and the next day when they received a letter from Julia Otis they knew they'd never see her again. In the letter it stated that Julia was taking Mary to California and the parents could spare a couple of months without her. 2 weeks later she sent another letter pretending to be cousin of the name of Alice Henderson, saying she was mourning the loss of her own child and was love-hungry. The story hit the news quick, but Mary was never found. 2 months later, on July 11, 1930, her little sister was born. The two never got to meet. Mary was a 2-year-old white female at the time. She had blonde hair and blue eyes. She was 3 feet and 20 pounds. She had a strawberry birthmark on her face and a scar on her stomach from a hernia. It's noted she was left-handed also. Mar have been raised as Julia Otis's daughter and has no idea she'd been kidnapped. Sources. This isn't one specific experience, but an overall experience from a number of clients. Yes, we want System X, not System Y. Even though you have told us repeatedly that System Y is much better suited for us due to our lack of supporting infrastructure. But you must understand that we have no additional budget for the infrastructure required for System X. What workaround can you suggest? Today is Monday, and we must insist on the quotation being received by Friday, although our own security procedures prohibit us from disclosing any details about the project to unvetted personnel. Our vetting procedure takes 2 weeks. Yes, we know our system is out of your 5-year warranty. Yes, we know we signed a disclaimer showing we chose not to buy the extended warranty. Yes, We understand that we are not entitled to any discount on replacement parts, but you must understand that this system was installed only 11 years ago and we expect you to support it, regardless of the fact that the damage was caused by one of our own unqualified technicians. You must provide us with replacement parts at zero cost within 72 hours. Kevin was in my class a while ago and everyone hated him along with his stupid twin brother. One day in math we were put into groups of 3 and I was in a group with Kevin and another guy that I somewhat get along with. We were doing a budgeting project where we had to plan a fake holiday. Kevin hadn't shown up to school until the second last day until we had to turn in the project. We explained everything to him and he started to change everything we've already done. One example is that he added one more person to the holiday thing which would have ruined everything because we would have had to search up the prices again, so he told him no, but he kept on trying to change things to the point where me and the other dude in my group made it so he couldn't edit the Google Sheet. He ended up telling the teacher on us and the teacher took our side. We ended up not letting Kevin do any real work since we didn't want him to mess up the project again. So I work for my local cable company and had this nice lady call in today. Our exchange went like this. Lady, hi, I just set up the cable box for my mom. I believe I did it right but I'm not getting a signal. Me, alright, I'm going to see what I can do to help you. Sends hits. She started talking about what's going on for a bit until the picture comes on. Lady, oh my god, it just went on, did you do something? Me, yep, just sent some hits to the box, sometimes needed with new equipment. Lady, you are awesome at this, I'm glad I ended up with you as the rep I got. You made my day, thank you. It really makes me happy when I get customers like this. I bought a self-help book 8 years ago, Toxic People, Lillian Glass, because I has a few rough relationships and needed help with identifying toxic partners early on. It worked really well, especially since the book have step-by-step instructions on how to identify and deal with toxic people. In order to have a quick reference on how to deal with toxic family members, I have written their names next to its accompanying page numbers. For example, the opportunistic user, Mary, page 123. So a few months ago, I am clearing up my bookcase and decided to give said book to my sister since she complained a lot about the toxic people in her life. You think you know where this is going, but there's a twist. My sister never got around to read the book. Her then boyfriend picked it up and started reading. Apparently he left shortly after that without a valid explanation, later texting my sister that he doesn't think the relationship will work. Obviously she was quite upset and wanted to know why, so he redirected her attention to the book. Needless to say, my sister was angry and disappointed with me. I explained that I had written those names 8 years ago, and that I take responsibility for completely overlooking the erasing of the content. But when she asked why I have written down her name to start with, I honestly shared with her that although she was toxic back then and needed assistance on how to deal with her, this is flip-up number 2 and only escalated the situation since I defended my actions of 8 years ago. Truth be told, they had their troubles anyway. In my opinion, the book was just the tip of the iceberg. They broke up after a few months because of trust issues. Still, I felt shit about everything. So, folks, please check your books' insides before giving them away. I learned my lesson. TL, Doctor gave a self-help book to my sister to help identify and deal with toxic people around her. Forgot to erase her name out of it before I handed it over. Hurt her feelings and contributed to her and her boyfriend's eventual breakup. I work at a small-town coffee shop that has managed to adapt and stay busy during COVID-19 by utilizing a window for walk-up service. Our regular problematic customer, let's call him TJ, is a typical middle-aged man riddled with toxic masculinity. He often makes female employees and customers uncomfortable with his comments. Lately he's been around a lot, being typical TJ. Today he came to our window and ordered a coffee. Cool, nothing out of the ordinary. A coworker asked him if he would like to tip via our Square register. We normally don't verbally ask customers, but with the current pandemic we are not allowing customers to touch our iPad system. He proceeded to tell her to put 100, and reassured them he wanted to tip that much because he appreciates our hard work and effort and wants to chip in since our business has been a bit slower. Okay, I gave him that and almost have a change of heart about TJ. We both outwardly thank him and he goes on his way. I text my boss about this uncharacteristic interaction with TJ, and through their end of the register system she was able to look at the transaction. They noticed that not only was the credit card he used not in his name, but in his boss's name, on their company card. Typical TJ. What a D-bag. So this has literally just happened and I am typing this in between calls. Some context: I work in the upgrades department for a large UK phone provider. Discussing the upgrade options for the customer, and they have requested a price for the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip. I have told the customer the price, around £90 per month, and they would have a one-off cost for the phone. As I said the upfront cost, he told me that I have to waive it. I can't do that BTW. Once I told him the price minus his NHS discount, he then told me that I would have to apply my own discount to his contract as he has had so many issues with our company and is considering leaving us. I was stunned. This is my first call with someone who is as entitled as this guy. And I still have to call him back later. First time posting, currently a EMS dispatcher for a private ambulance company for 3 years now. We take some calls, however, they're usually seizures, psych, and falls. This one? Probably should have been psych, but unfortunately she wasn't the patient. This call happened in my first year, while I was pretty fresh and didn't understand the power of controlling a call. And #X200B. Me: okay, tell me exactly what happened. CLR: yeah, my mom fell in the other room, you know we have her locked in there right now, but yeah, she fell and I think she may have hit her head. Me: okay, are you with her now? CLR: well, you see, she has dementia, and we live in a new home, so she is locked in there. You see, we can't have her wandering because of the bears that are around here. Me: have you gone to check on her yet? CLR: no, I can't unlock her door because she will get out and the bears will get her. Me: can you please go check on the patient? CLR: yeah, I think she might have hit her head, it sounded like she hit the end table, that's what woke me up, but even our big dog, insert large dog brand, is afraid to go outside because there are bears here at this new house. Please send the ambulance, but make sure they get in and out quick because the bears will get them. Rinse and repeat for literally every one of the 10 questions involved with a fall. I was essentially working with a third-party caller as she flat out refused to unlock her mother from the room until the EMS got there, let alone even go look at her. And #X200B. I kid you not, I heard way more about these bears than I ever got out of her regarding her fallen mother. While I may have wanted to bash my head into the desk repeatedly asking her the questions, now I can have a good belly laugh over it. From what I do remember though, Mom was transported alright, and no EMTs were mauled by the darn bears. Remembered a crazy little story from my time working the desk at a marina involving a young boy and a very vengeful fish. The little shop/check-in desk had windows that overlooked the marina, and I saw a young boy that had been out fishing with his family was walking towards the shop with his rod, carrying something. I assumed he had caught a fish and couldn't get the hook out, so he came up to me for help. He met me at the door and just said, I need a little help. I end up doing a lot of rod repairs and fish to hooking, but it seemed odd he brought it all the way up to shore. I asked to take a look at the fish and he opens his hand, revealing that the fish's fin has punctured and stuck in his palm. Catfish have bones in their fins and they are mighty sharp. Kid's calm as a cucumber. I asked where his father is. He was gathering the rest of the family from fishing, and started looking at the wound but realized this fish is flopping around a bit. Never remove an embedded object. I ended up having to cut the fin from the fish before it did more damage and wrapped his hand up. So at this point I have a kid sitting in the shop with a fish fin just hanging out embedded in his palm. A minute or two later, the father returned family in tow and they decided to drive to the hospital and avoid an ambulance. Our water isn't real clean, so I made sure his father knew to tell the ER what type of fish it was and where it came from. Little kid was a total trooper, and the fish got a decent licking after being hooked. I wonder if that kid still goes fishing. I had an idea that I would make a nice bleach cocktail and take a funny picture of it. I went to grab my bleach, which is on a high shelf, probably 7 feet high. This is above my head, but I thought I could reach it if I stand on my toes and really stretch. I was too lazy to grab the step stool. I reached the handle and pulled it down towards me, when it starts spilling out right onto my face. I'm talking eyes, mouth, nose. Immediately I realize this is a major flip-up. I go to the bathroom right next to where I'm standing and immediately rinse my eyes. After a couple minutes, I use soap to wash my face off so the bleach isn't on my skin. I realize that my vision is becoming hazier and blurrier and I start to think that I'm going blind. My eyes are burning, so I keep rinsing. After 15 minutes I Google what to do when you get bleach in your eyes. As expected, rinsing right away is most important, followed by seek medical attention as quickly as possible. Since I live alone, I called my mom. My mom called poison control, then called me back and said I'll be fine, just to rest the eyes. After rinsing for about 30 minutes total, I decided to listen to a podcast with a weighted eye mask and just rest the eyes. After a couple hours like that, my eyes feel like I went to a gross water park without goggles and opened my eyes underwater. I'm thankful that I will make a full recovery. TL, doctor, I was too lazy to grab a stool and ended up pouring bleach down my face. Just a few of the lines. I'm tired of all retail and fast food workers being force-fed daily. I get it, we are in a pandemic. I get it, people, the economy sucks, and I get that frustration. I get it, we still have jobs and others don't at this moment. I can't speak for America since it's a bit more complicated there, but where I live our government is handing out cash left and right in large payments anyone who isn't working right now due to the virus. Let me clarify that these monthly payments are more than most retail workers make in a month. $2,000 a month. Tons of retail workers don't even make that in their normal month, much less during a pandemic. So people are literally coming and shopping who make more money than you to sit home and hang out with their families, play video games, garden and do hobbies, but they look at you and expect you to be so thankful and lucky you still get to work at Walmart/Target/Superstore/McDonald's etc. for minimum wage. Oh my, aren't you lucky, dear, you keep busy, huh? Oh, aren't you lucky, honey, you are at a greater risk of getting this virus and spreading it along to coworkers or your family at home. Oh well, gosh, let me just get my family resting at home comfortably, their groceries and their fast food meal run, and I'll go home and sit on my ass beside them too. But you guys in retail, you keep working hard and smile and be grateful. How lucky you all are, I roll. And do you know what most big CEOs thank you is to all their employers at their companies right now? A literal email or video they did that took a whole 5 minutes to film where they say, wait for it. Thanks for working during this time, everyone. Thanks. We're a family, flip right off with that BS, and keep your heads up. Again, thanks for working and keep the good work up. I'm sorry, but thanks isn't cutting it for most us at this point. Neither is an extra 1 or 2 an hour that still gets heavily taxed. We still make less than people not working, and we are working our asses off. Tell you what, Mr. or Mrs. CEO types, why don't you take a pay cut? Why don't you big Walton family types take cuts and send some of those massive bonus checks you get worth millions down the stream to your frontline teams working during this? Honest truth, I'd rather be off on sick leave, aka high-risk virus leave, and be making that CERB bank right now than going to work every day dealing with higher odds of getting the virus. Or being condescended to by CEOs, managers and customers about how lucky we are. Edited for spelling. Bartender at a local pizza joint. My buddy came in after a long day dealing with his 2 sick little girls. He tells me a story from today about the littlest. She's screaming for him from the bathroom. She states she's been waiting for 60 years for him. All she wanted was a cheese pizza from our place. Since they were sick, he went with something more appropriate for upset stomachs. But you can guarantee I got him a gift certificate for a cheese pizza for her when she's better. Nice to have good customers to even out the bad ones, lol. I worked in housekeeping in a hotel for months up until this past week. I'm now 35 weeks pregnant. I was scheduled to work 5+ days a week, with 20+ rooms to myself. I came into work recently, because I was on the schedule, and I could barely walk. I couldn't bend my back and my ankles were hugely swollen. I had been in L&D the night before to stop contractions. We didn't have many rooms, but 5 housekeepers in-house. Everyone was almost begging my manager to send me home, as we had too many housekeepers for the amount of rooms. Now, I'm huge at this point in pregnancy. I can't bend too far forward in general. My manager and I, discussed a couple weeks ago that she didn't want me cleaning bathtubs, so I was to have another housekeeper come clean my bathtubs. No biggie, I was fine with that. Well, the day before I quit I had went to find another HK to help with a bathtub. Said manager stopped us in the hall and asked what we were doing socializing on the clock. We explained that she was going to clean a bathtub for me and would go right back to her rooms. She yelled at me and said that if I can't do my job, I need to quit so that she can hire someone who's willing to work. I explained that it wasn't that I wasn't willing to work, rather that's one small task that I myself struggle with accomplishing. She didn't care. She continued yelling at me. Now, I've always hated being yelled at, so I spent the rest of my shift crying while cleaning my rooms. I got home from work, still crying. My boyfriend became extremely upset as I told him what had happened. We decided that it's in the best interest of our child that I just be done, as it's a lot of emotional trouble as well as physical. So I gave my manager her wish, and I went in and handed in my scrubs and quit. She seemed sympathetic, said she understood, Was sad to see me go, and for me to come talk to her after I was released from maternity leave. Fast forward to today, another HK at said hotel was talking to this manager, while recording the conversation to send to me. She asked if I would be back after baby. The manager told her that I was lazy and a crybaby, so she would never consider hiring me back. I'm glad I quit. I feel like I dodged a bullet. I'm not sure that I'll ever be able to convince myself to work in housekeeping again. I used to work in a small office, and when I needed to blow up the bathroom I'd walk down to Walgreens. I'm an attorney, so I'd have on a button-up shirt and tie, and people would ask me where to find things. Being in my hometown where I worked and all, I'd say I didn't work there. I went on vacation once and left from work, so I ended up near the coast at a Walgreens in my work outfit. This guy asked me about some product for his foot and couldn't remember the name. He remembered some jingle from a commercial but didn't have his phone to research. So I looked it up with my phone and we found it together. And then he asked if he could pay in the pharmacy or if he had to go up front, and I was like, I have no idea man, I don't work here. He was really happy and thanked me for taking time to help. Great way to start a vacation. Posted this once before, but sharing again. 4 years ago, when I was 17F, my best friend Hannah, also 17, came over to my house for the weekend. I believe it was that Saturday night when it happened. We stayed up late, ate some junk food, watched movies, etc. It was around 1 a.m. when I decided to take a shower and head to bed. After our horror movie marathon, I was pretty paranoid, so I asked Hannah to sit in the bathroom with me while I showered. So, she did just that. She sat on the toilet and played some music on her cell phone, and we talked about whatever we had going on in our lives while I showered. Finally, after my, probably 20-minute, shower, I got out and grabbed a towel. Hannah was still sitting on the toilet, and she said my name, so I turned to face her. That's when I noticed some movement in the bathroom window above her head. The window cling distorted it slightly, but I immediately knew what I was looking at. A face. A man's face. Smirking at me from the other side of the glass. The man ducked out of view and I quickly faced away, wrapping my towel around me. I whispered to Hannah that there was a man looking in the window, and she laughed, thinking I was messing with her. So, she bravely stands up, and to her horror, becomes face to face with this creep. Staring. Smirking. We run out of the bathroom and wake my parents, but creep dude is already gone by the time my dad gets outside, and he better be glad for that. Next day, my parents investigate outside the window. There was a cinder block underneath it that the man had been standing on, indicating this probably wasn't the first time he's peeped on me, and stuffed between the block and the wall? A bag of lotion. The window cling was useless, as you could see everything inside the bathroom clearly from the outside, but we didn't know that at the time. Still can't shower without having the bathroom windows covered. TL, doctor, man peeped at me in the shower through my bathroom window, left his bag of lotion behind. So I do service desk support for internal employees of a large construction company. I'm 100% phone-based support. We have local techs, but they cover a wide area and are rarely on site. Stage, not a super busy day, but I'd had a few harder calls and was looking forward to my break. HR person calls in with one of their employees on the line. Customer, CF is a construction foreman, hours. Well, HR and trying to help the completely tech clueless but super nice guy set up his iPhone. Call went like this, super condensed. Me, thanks for calling service desk, how can I help you? HR, hey, this is HR from company, I've got CF on the phone here, can you check that his email is online and that his apps are ready for deployment? Me, does the requisite verifications and checks? Me, yep, he's all good. Can I help with anything else? HR, awesome, can you stay on the line if I need you? I'm gonna help him get this going. I know what to do. I just need you in case we run into any snags. Me, sure. And I spent the next 30 to 45 minutes checking emails and twiddling my thumbs as this woman walked this sweet, completely tech clueless dude through setting up his iPhone. I answered a couple super generic iPhone-related how-to questions, but that was it. At the end of the call they both thanked me and hung up. Just a fun experience I thought I'd share. Happened yesterday, phew. My son is 4. We have played Zelda Breath of the Wild since he was a baby. Has watched me beat the game, find all the shrines, all the Koroks, most the DLC, and I was working on getting the motorcycle. He asked if he could play, and I excitedly said sure, as all he has done up to now is drive circles on Mario Kart. but envisioning destroying him at Madden in the future, I wasn't about to pass up the opportunity. I started a new game for him, let him watch opening sequence, play through to getting apples and a few weapons. After he went to bed last night, went back to continue my game. And it had auto-saved over my entire game. All of it. Over 250 hours of gameplay in 3 years, just gone. I am starting from scratch. My wife, who had watched most of it with me, calls me an idiot, hopefully lovingly. He now has his own account. TLDR, I erased 3 years worth of gameplay after being excited of the prospect of gaming with my son. I am 14. I am a certified referee in my state. I know the rules as I've played by them my whole life along with taking the officiating classes. At our park district, no headers for ages below 11. But in U12, it is up to the referee's discretion. So if it's a small tap it's okay. That is exactly what happens. So the coach behind me screams at the top of his lungs there are no headers in U12 5 to 16 times. I ignore him. Though I could eject him. It was last game of the season and I didn't care. After a bit of yelling, he says fine, go duck yourself then, which I turn and tell Adam for saying in front of U11 kids. I wish I sent him away or ended the match. Sadly I didn't do much and my partner is a long-time referee, officiated my matches as I grew up, and he is deaf. So he has no idea what happened. The person who runs Park District in my area has been informed and is taking action. Tifu by making my girlfriend cry when we were talking about dogs. Just about 45 minutes ago. She's now in bed crying while I sit here and drink. Tomorrow is her birthday. We're quarantining together. We've been together a few years, and have been living together for a year and a half or so. She has a couple cats and a very old pug. I'm talking. Shoot the bed, blind, doesn't know who or where he is. Old pug. We've been talking about buying a house and I've been pretty hopeful about getting a younger dog that I can go running with and take on adventures. Maybe once the older one passes away and we find a place with a good yard. My GF is consciously aware that the old dog will be dying soon and is willing to talk about a replacement, something we would both hopefully be okay with. I travel a bit for work so we would both need to be okay with the dog. What really broke the whole thing emotionally was her stating that she only adopted the old pug because she knew she could give it the best end of life as possible. And that any new dog she got, she would want the best life possible. She wanted to exclude certain breeds just because she wouldn't be willing to exercise them certain amounts, etc. She would only adopt an animal if she knew that she could give it the best life possible. Here's where the tifu happened. I explained that everything is on a spectrum, including how well people take care of their pets. We could most certainly find a pet that fit both of our wants, but we would both need to compromise. And that was okay. Relationships are filled with compromise. She insisted that it was the animal's happiness that would be most important, which I do agree with. I want my animal companion to be totally happy. But there are downturns in every animal's life, including people. But I brought up the point that her old pug is most certainly not living life to 100%, and her older cat isn't either. Life just kind of degrades sometimes. And sometimes it's okay to not to be at 100%. It's not realistic to have these dying animals fed morphine and massaged while they die slowly. It's fine. We just do what we can, but nothing is perfect. All because I wanted to talk about what kind of dog to get when we got a house. I brought up mortality, compromise, and the fact that her animals are suffering. Doctor, pointed out my girlfriend's dog is dying a slow death and isn't happy. I want a new one. This happened yesterday. Like many, I assume, I've been getting really bored lately in quarantine and miss my friends. To try to escape the house for a little bit, a friend and I decided to go biking together, making sure to wear masks and stay at least 10 feet away from each other at all times. Since both of us still have college classes, and due to the weather, we didn't have a large window of time to go biking, and ultimately decided on 2 p.m. on a day we both had school commitments in the evening. Now, like many I assume, my sleep schedule has gotten pretty bad during quarantine, and I usually wake up around 1 p.m., so I had planned for this. What I didn't plan for was accidentally sleeping in on that day and not waking up until 2:15 p.m. Knowing that we didn't have much time to bike, I basically rolled out of bed, put on some pants, and headed out. I didn't think I had time for a shower or food, but I also didn't realize that I had forgotten to brush my teeth. This bike ride was the first genuine workout I've had in several months, so as I was heading to the place where we were to meet up, I very quickly got out of breath. This is where the flip-up happens. As I got more and more out of breath, I started to breathe in and out through my mouth, all the while wearing a mask. The gross stink of my own morning breath kept circulating in between my mouth and my mask, to the point where several times, I had to pull away for a moment and gasp for fresh, cold air just to be able to breathe. Needless to say, it was a much shorter bike ride than what it felt like, and I will definitely remember to brush my teeth when I bike again tomorrow. TLDR, woke up late to go biking with a friend, forgot to brush my teeth, stinky morning breath panting circulated between my face and my mask. So a little backstory, as this won't be too long. I was 10 at the time, a scrawny kid, and pretty shy. I have told this story to my friends many times and it still creeps me out every time I tell it. Me, my mom and my grandma were going to see the movie Madea Goes to Jail. I remember it vividly because of what is about to come. So we all buy our tickets for the movie at the stand and then walk in the theater. We are waiting in line at the register to buy popcorn and whatnot, and then I realize that I have to go to the bathroom. So I sort of turn around to go onto the bathroom, and as I'm starting to walk towards it, there is a kid, maybe a few years older than me at most, gesturing me to come into the bathroom. He was standing at the entrance. I look back to see if my mom or grandma see the kid in the doorway, but they are chatting with each other and don't notice. Then I look back at the kid, and now he is a little more persistent, like gesturing a little faster or whatever. As a naive kid, I slowly start walking towards the bathroom. I honestly don't know why I did this, and then I feel my shirt getting pulled from the back and my grandma saying, "You bad kid." Thankfully I never went into that bathroom with that kid. What would have happened to me? I was young and I obviously didn't have money. Did that kid have people in there waiting for me? I'm just glad I'll never have to find out. Kid trying to get me into the bathroom. Let's not meet. TLDR, thousands of shop-level employees got laid off based on a computer algorithm the corporate office designed that doesn't factor in seniority and gives preference to certain employees. Store managers and corporate office employees were not affected at all by these layoffs. Please feel free to ask me any questions, I have lots of free time now. And #X200B. I work at a Take 5 oil change, same thing as Jiffy Lube, for 5 years and was terminated yesterday along with 1,000 other lube techs. All the stores only have 1 to 3 people working there now. Nobody at the corporate level got let go, all the store managers are still working, and the rest was left up to a computer algorithm. I took pictures of our company's organizational charts in ADP before they locked me out, showing that corporate employees were not affected at all. The regional manager, who is in charge of over 60 stores, actually said that corporate's computers picked which assistant managers and lube techs would stay and which ones would be terminated, with preference given to some assistant managers. I have no say in the matter. Apparently experience wasn't a factor in this algorithm. Lube techs who had worked there for more than 20 years got laid off, while some techs who just started last year are still being employed. In the letter they sent out to everyone, they stated that all employees terminated will be considered for rehire subject to work history. They aren't even guaranteeing their jobs back, they're basically telling us we need to fill out an application again and hope for a callback. Does this seem pretty messed up, or is it just me? How can a company lay off people so easily without care? It sounds like they are using the current events as an opportunity to clean house and start fresh with new people once things settle down. I can't imagine a company anywhere that lets a computer tell them who can stay and who can leave during a layoff. I think what bothers me the most is that I know very well the expendable shop-level employees are only getting laid off so the company can afford to pay the management and corporate employees. They still have 10 employees on payroll making $70–80K a year for unit growth and development. This company is not doing any growing or expanding right now, couldn't they let some of those people go? Thank you for taking the time to read. I just really wanted to vent my frustrations. If what they are doing isn't illegal, then it is certainly the shadiest thing I have ever come across. When I was 17 I used to deliver for a well-known pizza place in the area. Of course Fridays were always insane and this Friday was supposedly going to be the biggest. Halfway through the night I got a delivered to a home for a specialty pie with 5 toppings, the bill came out to $35, pizza was deep dish when given toppings so the price was always jacked up, and was hopping for another good tip to bring my night to about $50. As I'm walking up to the door I can hear them trying to shush their dog. Usually whenever this were to happen it was common courtesy for the customer to come outside to avoid any issues with their dog. Well, they open the door and their 100-pound husky comes bolting out, jumps, bites my arm and then attacks the pizza. Luckily I was okay and very disoriented from the whole situation and wasn't sure what to do since the pizza was all over their front steps. They freaked out and continuously apologized. They informed me that they would call the store and order a new pie and pay for both and tip me extra. However, they sent me on my way without ever paying me. My 17-year-old mind was still messed up from getting attacked by their dog. Getting back to the store, I find out they never called and we couldn't find their phone number to contact them. Got bit by their dog and ended up not making anything after it all. After my first post was solved, I decided to post my more weird one. It can't really be solved, but you just wanted to share it. I moved in from my room to my basement because my sister needed more room for her toys and such. The first day I moved down there, a car drives by with its floodlights on at 9 p.m. I thought that it was just a driver who couldn't see at night and needed very bright lights. Then a couple days later, someone came to the windows and shined what I can only assume to be a flashlight at my basement window. Now I was scared. I have storm windows, so you can't really see anything through them. Then I later remembered when I was 7 hanging out with my friend who lives on my block playing without Batman toys outside, and a man drove up to us and asked, "Have you seen my dog? I can't find him, can you help me look for him?" Being the dumb 7-year-olds we were, didn't think of him being a pedo, so we told him that we haven't seen him, and we will be on the lookout. Both of our parents had a talk with us about how he was a pedo and tried to kidnap us. This was in 2013, I am 13 now, and if that is the same guy then he is persistent. The lights have stopped, but now I think he's inside the house sometimes. I would wake up in the middle of the night to nothing, and my mom would tell me to quiet down even though I'm on Insta, not making any noise. So I sometimes think he's in the walls, which I know seems far-fetched, but I wouldn't be surprised. I may be going insane. If anyone has any advice, let me know. This happened around 4 years ago. So I was working at my local pizza fast food chain conglomerate. I had dealt with entitled customers with a corporate smile all day. Mostly manning the phone, as everyone else, I guess, couldn't be bothered. Then this Karen calls. She wants a special that we had stopped running last week. "I'm sorry, ma'am. We no longer have that. Might I suggest this? If I had wanted this, I would order this. I want that. We stopped running that last week, ma'am." "You're lying. Or lazy. You're withholding product. I'll get you fired." I don't know why I said what I said next. I never would today. But I was tired. I had dealt with people like her, albeit on a less rude scale, all day. It had been a few days with shifts like that, as it goes. "Come on in. We close at this time." I hopped on landing, which is boxing what cones out of the oven. Honestly, I forgot all about her. But she didn't forget about me. She came in. Landing is close enough to the front counter that I could hear what went down. First, she asked to speak to my poor manager. Luckily, he's had experience dealing with people like her. "Yes. I have a complaint. I was just speaking to the rudest girl on the phone. She was back talking and refused to serve me what I ordered." I couldn't see any of this, but I remember with satisfaction hearing my manager say, "We don't have anyone female clocked in right now, ma'am." Yup. I'm a guy with a higher voice. Ha. She sounded flabbergasted. Left the store in a huff. My manager comes over to me. "I know it was you. I can't prove it was you. You're lucky I can't. It's the only reason you're not being written up for this. Don't let it happen again." Got a high five from everyone once I explained what happened.